I'm Robert Lieber. I'm a professor of government and international affairs at Georgetown University. And this is the first in a series of videos discussing my brand new book, Retreat and Its Consequences, American Foreign Policy and the Problem of World Order. It's the third in the series of books I call the American Futures Trilogy, which I've written over the course of a decade, each of which grapples with the problem of America's world role, American grand strategy, and the enormous importance of the United States as the world's principal guarantor of world order. I'm originally from Chicago. I was born and raised there. I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Wisconsin, a year in graduate school at the University of Chicago, and my doctorate at Harvard University in the government department. Well, I've been interested in politics since I was a kid, listening to my parents, their friends, relatives argue and debate politics and foreign policy at the dinner table was part of it. Growing up in Chicago was part of it. You have to be aware of politics in that city because of its unique traits. At the University of Wisconsin, which had a fabulous political science department, I took courses from outstanding professors such as Leon Epstein, who was then chair of the department and later head of the American Political Science Association, John Armstrong, a brilliant and incisive scholar of the Soviet Union, a political theorist named Tom Thorson, Ralph Hewitt, a great scholar of American politics and someone who served in the Johnson administration in a senior position. At Chicago, I was fortunate enough to take courses under Hans Morgenthau, the very important seminal thinker in framing a realism for America of the last half of the 20th century. And at Harvard, again, I studied under leading professors and scholars, Louis Hartz, the political theorist, Stanley Hoffman, Samuel H. Beer, who was my thesis mentor, the others such as Henry Kissinger in his national security seminar. And on top of that, I was the senior assistant to Professor Carl Deutsch, a brilliant iconoclastic scholar of international relations. So I had a really terrific undergraduate and graduate preparation, which has served me well in laying the foundations for the understanding both of politics and foreign policy. I very much resist being pigeonholed. I think if you say to students, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm a liberal internationalist, or a realist, or a constructivist, or a neoconservative, immediately you're pigeonholed, and you are assumed to carry all the sins and details of those who have that position. I don't want to be objectified, is the expression. My own view of foreign policy is one which is eclectic in part. I like to call myself an existential realist, which is to say I accept some of the core definitions of realism laid out by Morgenthau and Robert Gilpin. Specifically, world affairs is inherently conflictual. Human loyalties are fundamentally to group or tribe or country or state or ethnicity. And third, there's a hierarchy of issues in which security is the most important. But I also think that contemporary IR realism has created these baroque theoretical and conceptual structures that thrust reality onto a Procrustean bed and I think are profoundly unrealistic. Indeed, about a decade ago, I wrote a mischievous piece called, Are the Realists Realistic About Foreign Policy? My answer was, no, they're not.